Well, hello there. It's the 23rd of June 2020, and here you are with Dan in Essex, UK. So today I'm going to be answering 4 questions, 3 of which will be gardening related, and the 4th will be a fitness related question that I was asked the other day. So for those of you who are here for the gardening, that will be the majority of you, you can click out after the 3rd question has been answered, and for those of you who want to stay tuned for the fitness related question answer, please feel free to stay tuned to that. So now, I was asked a question about tayberries. When do you prune tayberries? Now, the proper time to prune them is after they have finished fruiting. That way, if you do that, then you're less likely to get disease into the vine. Although I will say I have pruned them as late as into the following year, February or March time, maybe even into April. Okay, so tayberries fruit on growth from the previous season, the previous year's growth. That's what you will get your fruit on. So you need to make sure you've got plenty of that. So do not prune away too much of the previous year's growth. Okay, that way you'll hopefully get some good crops. So we'll go over to one of the tayberry bushes and have a look. Right, so this is one of my tayberry bushes. So if I show you a cane where it's currently fruiting off of, let me try and find you one. Here you go, this one here, look. So you can see that this one is part of previous year's growth. You can see it's got like marks on it, if you will, you know, like that. You can just see what it's got on there. They don't look particularly fresh. The same as down here, look. There's, you know, it's carrying a crop on there, but you can see it's looking a little bit sort of marked and discoloured, that sort of thing. So they are your previous, sorry, they are the, well, yes, they are the previous year's growth in the sense of being of fruiting this year. So you get the idea. So what you want to do when they're finished fruiting is cut them right down to the ground. Okay, now best practice is to leave about 4 or 5 of these new growth canes here. You see this one here? So this has grown this year. You can see it's a nice clean looking cane, nice and tidy. There we go. And there should be plenty of fruit on that. So if you leave 4 or 5 of those, then you should get some nice, you know, plenty of growth on there, plenty of fruit. And what that should then do is allow sort of air in between to allow them to breathe and less likely to get disease. So if you see what I've got there, look, 1, 2, 3 at the back, they could maybe be espaliered. Okay, now you can see that I've not abided by the rule here. Okay, quite often I leave things. A lot of that is to do with busyness, basically. So I let this do its thing. Okay, and there's probably about 8 or 9 canes, but as you can see, plenty of growth. But best practice is leave 4 or 5 of the previous growing season's growth and cut away the growth that has bared fruit. There we go. Oh, let's have a bit of a chill out. Okay, so another one for you. Is soft fruit a good thing for beginner gardeners to grow? Well, I think that's one of the best things that beginner gardeners can get into, because what's more delicious than something like freshly picked strawberries, and all you need is a container, some growing medium, the plants themselves, some water, and maybe a feed such as something like, you know, an organic granular feed, and away you go. You can get started. So if you had 3 strawberry plants, if each one of those produces something like, you know, 1 or 2 runners, you have 6 of that variety, and you can slowly build from there. Particularly good if you want to get children into gardening. And yeah, you can, you know, blueberries, raspberries, tayberries, if you've seen. So yeah, I think they're a great thing for one to get into. Okay, so another question I had was with regards to someone who had, or thought he had, or may have had, woodlice eating his strawberries. Well, I looked that one up, and apparently woodlouse, whatever, are not equipped with the jaw to penetrate strawberries to eat them. Intriguing stuff, but apparently they will eat them if something else has already penetrated them. So there you go. Maybe if you've got plenty of woodlice eating your strawberries, maybe it actually means you've got something like slugs or snails eating your strawberries. So maybe you've got a double issue there. There we go. Right, okay, now we will move on to the fitness related questions. So for those of you who are here for the gardening, see you next time. Thank you for viewing. And for those of you who want to hear the answer to the fitness question, there we go. So now people have asked me, how do I maintain my shape, my physique, my body, whatever you want to call it? Now, this is a very, very big question. It could be a potentially long-winded answer. So let's go back to when I was 14 years old. So you're looking around the year 1999. I was born in 1984, so 98, 99. I remember the summer of the year 1999, and you know, a lot of blokes my age will remember growing up watching movies starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Stallone, Dolph Lundgren. You get the idea. You know, every generation has their heroes on screen. You know, for instance, you know, there were people like John Wayne, Kirk Douglas, Clint Eastwood. Nowadays, who have you got? You've got the Rock, Dwayne Johnson, haven't you? And you've got, what's that bloke's name that was Thor? Chris Hemsworth. You've got, every generation's got them, so you know what I mean. Now, so I started heavy training when I was about 14, okay? And what that was a lot of the basics, okay? Squat, bench press, deadlift, overhead press. There we go. Working incredibly hard at it and enjoying it. So I did that up until I was probably about 18, something like that. And then I stopped for a few years, and then I started again. And then, of course, the 20s come, or whatever. And then what you've got in your 20s, you know, the excesses. We won't go too much into those, but you start doing things, you start doing a job, whatever, and maybe things fall by the by. There we are. Now, I did a little bit of training, but not too much. Now, then, when I was about 27, I started training again, quite seriously, probably in many ways more seriously than I ever had. Really loading up on the weights, the squats, the bench, the deadlift, overhead press, clean and press. You get the idea. Chin-ups, everything like that. Well, I was actually getting strong enough, or I was considering competing in a local powerlifting event. Now, I wouldn't have won, of course I wouldn't, but it would have been good fun to do it. However, what happened, and this happened around the age of 30. In fact, no, it was in May of my 29th year. I got a little bit injured. I remember I started getting back trouble. Oh dear. There we go. So what happened? I kind of cut back on that. And then I started getting a little niggle in this right shoulder. Just there. Oh, you can just hear that? Bit of tendonitis for you. That's great, that is, when you work as a maintenance gardener. There you go. So, what did I do? Well, basically, I stopped, sold all my weights, and that was it. And of course, working as a maintenance gardener, one gets quite a bit of exercise anyway. There we go. So now, your question will be, what do I do now? Well, I work as a maintenance gardener 6 days a week, and that keeps one very lean, very fit, and in good condition in general. Now, what actual fitness do? I do pull-ups and press-ups. That's all I do. In fact, I do chin-ups, which means palms facing you, like that. So I do that. And I always urge, whatever people do, is to have realistic goals for their situation, their age, their condition, and to just run with it and enjoy it. So, with regards to lifestyle, obviously I lead a very active one. I'm a maintenance gardener. I maintain my own garden. I chop wood with chainsaw and axe. Many of you have seen me do that. And I water my plants by hand using a watering can. I don't use a hose pipe. So basically I have a very, very active lifestyle. So genetics have got to be considered. Some people have commented on my leanness. Well, on both sides of my family, I've got overweight and healthy weight people. So the genetics are there either side for me to probably go either way, whatever choice I made or didn't make, lifestyle, diet, whatever. With regards to food, what do I eat? Well, you know, I eat a lot of very healthy food, but I also eat a lot of junk, okay? And you know I drink beer, things like that. Now, I'm not justifying and saying eating a lot of junk food is the right thing to do, because it's not. It's bad for you, we all know that. But I work as a maintenance gardener, so quite often my energy levels are low. You get tired, you know. 6 days a week of manual labour is hard graft, you know. Anyone out there who's done it will know. So sometimes I'm driving along and I think, how the heck am I going to get through my next job? So what do? I'll pull over and I'll buy a bag of sweets, and the sugar content will get me through. So there we go. I hear many of you say, oh, why are you doing that? If you're really, really tired and you've got to get through the day, you know, and your livelihood depends on it, you'll do it. But I'm not saying it's the right thing or the healthy thing to do, okay? So, that's enough about me. That's not going to help anyone else, particularly. But what I will say to people is, when you're getting into some sort of shape, fitness or whatever, it's got to be applicable to you and your situation. This is what I talk to people about with regards to gardening. Anything, really. Make it real and applicable to you. So, you know, if you're 21 years old, you're living a leisurely life, you don't have much in the way of expense, you don't work much, and you've got no aches and pains, whatever, you're going to be able to train how I once did. Yeah? If I start doing that now, what is going to happen? Well, for a start, I'm going to worsen my back, I'm going to worsen my shoulder, it's going to potentially threaten my livelihood, and make me old before my time, maybe. Alternatively, I may be able to find a way of using other training methods to help me get back to where I was, maybe. But what I'm saying to people is, whatever situation you're in, you're only really trying to improve yourself. It's easy to look around, you know, but at the end of the day, right, if you're 50 years old, 60 years old, you've got dependents, you've got people relying upon you for various different things, then you're, as I stated before, you're a lot of things to a lot of different people, okay? And you've got to include all of this. So if you then look at the picture of a fitness model, you know, whatever, and that person is 20 or 30 years younger than you, living a leisurely lifestyle, and you think, I want to look like that? Is that realistic? Maybe not. Now, I'm not saying to people here that, you know, you should demand little of yourself. Demand a realistic lot from yourself. But it's like anything. If I turn around tomorrow and I said I want to be a professional football player, I want to be like George Best, Paul Gascoigne, or Harry Kane, and I want to play football in the Premier League, how realistic is that as a goal? I'm 35 years old. Am I going to be an FA Cup player? Incredibly unlikely. Could I improve my football skills? Yes. And that's what I think we should all be aiming for. Everyone should aim to improve on where they are. And do what you can and see where you can go. Right, there we go. So that's a bit about my ethos, if you will. Now, how... some people will want a reasonable goal to go for with regards to, you know, getting themselves in lean and a good condition. Well, for the average male, you know, under, well, I'm not going to give ages here because it depends on situations, but if the average bloke can do 10 to 15 chin-ups, palms facing, in good form, and maybe 40 to 50 press-ups, the chances are, or push-ups, whatever you want to call them, the chances are that person will be in far better shape and condition than average. And I think that's a reasonable goal for many people to achieve. Right, there we go. So that's 3 gardening questions and the fitness question. Okay, I've had people ask me about how I maintain my leanness. Well, most of that, okay, is the active lifestyle, okay? When many people are sitting there watching television, I'm walking around my garden picking fruit or watering it. In the winter, when many people are sitting there keeping warm, I'll be outside with an axe chopping wood. You get the idea where I'm coming from? Lifestyle, okay? If you went back to, you know, 100 years ago, I know I talk about the old days a lot more, but you've got to think, right, they were living much more active lives, and you look at photos, they were generally in better condition than the average person is today. And I think that's what a lot of it basically is. Right, I'm going to go now. Comments, questions, whatever's on any of that, please feel free to post below. See you next time.